All right, welcome to the Explainer. So if you're a developer, or maybe an enterprise architect building out these massive data pipelines right now in 2026, you already know the stakes have literally never been higher. Today, we are diving headfirst into the highly anticipated Claude Opus 4.7 update. We've got the hard data, the leaked benchmarks, and the raw API specs pulled directly from the sources. We're going to break down exactly how Opus 4.7 tackles those brutal enterprise bottlenecks and, answer the multi-million-dollar compute budget question, is this actually the ultimate GPT 5.5 killer? Let's get right to it.
So, here's our roadmap for optimizing those developer workflows. We'll kick things off with the context amnesia problem, track the evolution of Claude AI, and then peek inside the Opus 4.7 architecture. After that, we'll hit the benchmarks, beating GPT 5.5, look at the API setup and economics, and finally, wrap up with the final technical verdict.
All right, Section 1, the context amnesia problem.
Now, before we can really appreciate what Anthropic has built here, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, the massive, ridiculously expensive pain point every single enterprise developer is dealing with right now: context amnesia. So, what is it? Well, it happens when standard transformer architectures just degrade. They literally forget specific variables or core system prompt instructions once they get deep inside those massive 1 million plus token context windows. It's like reading an entire encyclopedia and forgetting the rules of grammar by the last page. When we're talking about enormous enterprise datasets, older models, and yeah, objectively speaking, even GPT 5.5 suffer from this amnesia, and it completely derails complex multi-step coding tasks. Just imagine feeding in thousands of lines of documentation, right? Only to have the model totally hallucinate a core function at the very end just because it forgot your initial instructions. I mean, it is absolutely devastating to productivity.
And honestly, the real-world fallout from this is just brutal. We're talking broken code pipelines, we're talking wasted API compute costs because, let's face it, you have to run the same prompts over and over again. And then there's the dreaded manual human debugging when the AI just goes completely off the rails. All of this leads to API rate limits, bottlenecking your deployments, and, oh man, wildly inconsistent JSON output formatting. If you're out there building automated background agents, you know firsthand that this hallucination rate just absolutely takes efficiency. It is a daily headache, and it's literally costing companies millions of dollars.
Moving on to Section 2, the evolution of Claude AI. So Anthropic didn't just wake up one day and stumble into a fix for this. They've been meticulously engineering this over the last 3 years. I mean, think back to March 2023. We started with pretty basic conversational chatbots with Claude 1. Then we hit a massive turning point in March 2024, when Claude 3 Opus actually beat GPT-4. Fast forward to October 2025, and Claude 4 introduced native agentic control. And that brings us to right now, April 2026, with the launch of Claude Opus 4.7, featuring zero-latency retrieval augmented generation. You can see it's this incredibly deliberate evolution, going from a simple, safety-focused chatbot to a fully autonomous reasoning engine built specifically for engineers.
All right, Section 3, inside Opus 4.7 architecture.
Okay, so the real hero of our data pipeline story here boils down to two main things: a staggering 2 million token context limit paired up with native self-correction loops. I mean, just think about that scale for a second. 2 million tokens. But honestly, the massive window size, that's not even the real magic here. It's the self-correction algorithm. These new native loops basically act like an internal auditor that's constantly checking the model's memory against your original system prompt, no matter how deep you get into that context window. This entire architecture was specifically built from the ground up to eradicate that amnesia problem we just talked about. Having 2 million tokens means you can literally drop your entire enterprise code base. We're talking all the documentation, all the dependency files, the whole shebang, right into the prompt. And the AI? It maintains absolute crystal clarity from the very first line all the way to the last. But wait, here's the true punchline: 45 milliseconds of latency. That's it. Usually, when you're processing north of 500,000 tokens, speed is the very first thing to go out the window. But achieving a 45 millisecond latency, that fundamentally changes the game for background RAG, retrieval augmented generation processes. It takes large-scale enterprise integration from being just sort of technically possible to being completely frictionless and blazingly fast.
Which brings us to Section 4, benchmarks, beating GPT 5.5.
All right, let's skip all the chat UI fluff for a minute and look strictly at the hard, objective developer data we've got from the latest leaked benchmark scripts. Looking at both the SWE bench and human eval metrics,
Opus 4.7 is consistently outperforming GPT 5.5. And this is specifically true when it comes to zero-shot reasoning and complex coding reliability. Now, for those who might not know, SWE Bench actually tests real-world GitHub issues, so these numbers are highly indicative of actual on-the-job performance. And hey, we're not taking sides here between Anthropic and OpenAI. We're just looking at the facts. But the raw data clearly shows that Anthropic's new architecture is handling the heavy lifting with noticeably fewer errors than OpenAI's current flagship model.
And you know, this performance gap has actually led to a pretty staggering shift. According to the highly respected 2026 GitHub Developer Survey, an incredible 62% of professional developers are now saying they prefer Claude models for major code refactoring over both Copilot and GPT 5.5. I mean, wow, that is a massive shift in developer loyalty in just a few short years, and it's being driven entirely by this huge reduction in hallucination rates and, of course, successfully solving context amnesia.
And the broader market? Well, it's reacting exactly as you'd expect. AP News and the Wall Street Journal are reporting that the tech industry is actively shifting compute budgets over to the Claude ecosystem, while OpenAI is facing some real pressure as GPT 5.5 adoption sort of slows down. This impartial industry consensus really highlights something important. This isn't just about what developers prefer anymore. We are looking at the literal movement of massive enterprise compute budgets. At the end of the day, the money is just flowing straight to where the efficiency and the reliability are.
Okay, Section 5, API Setup and Economics. So, now that we've covered the why, let's get into the how. And guys, this elegant three-step Python integration logic is literally all you need. Step 1, you just connect your API keys to the new endpoint. Step 2, you set up those robust system prompts. And Step 3 is just receiving your JSON data output. But what's truly revolutionary here isn't just how simple it is, it's the reliability of that third step. Thanks to those self-correction loops we were talking about earlier, you are getting perfectly structured JSON arrays every single time. Seriously, you no longer have to build these massive, clunky error-handling scripts just to catch a missing comma or an unescaped character in the AI's output. It simply works, right out of the box.
And the economics absolutely back up the hype. We've seen a wild 400% spike in searches for Claude API setup in Q1 of 2026. And why is that? Well, Anthropic introduced significantly lower token pricing that's specifically tailored for background RAG. Plus, they've rolled out these incredible new multimodal image-to-code compiler capabilities. You can literally feed it a screenshot of a UI and get flawless code right back. When you start combining those lower token costs with the massive return on investment you get from dramatically reducing your manual debugging, well, the enterprise math makes absolute sense for adoption.
Let's wrap things up with Section 6, the final technical verdict.
Pulling all of this objective source data together, we can actually look to some recent validation from the MIT Computer Science and AI Lab. They managed to achieve flawless, needle-in-a-haystack retrieval at a full 2 million tokens. I mean, the data just proves it. The era of context amnesia has officially been solved. Opus 4.7 is delivering the speed, the advanced reasoning, and most importantly, the highly reliable memory that enterprise developers are absolutely demanding today.
So I'm going to leave you with this final critical question to think about. Are you ready to rewrite your enterprise code pipelines with Opus 4.7? The benchmarks are super clear. The API is incredibly robust and ready to go, and that era of endless manual debugging is officially a thing of the past. It might just be time to open up your terminal, fire up that new API endpoint, and start optimizing your workflows today. Keep learning, keep building, and thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.